Don't you hate it when you open up your hood and you can't get around that dang hood prop? Or the hood itself just constantly falls on you? Me too. That's why I have the hood lift kit from Cobalt. I got this from Miata, linked below. And they actually make it for every Miata generation. So I wish the hood opened nicely and smoothly without this stupid prop in the way, impeding you from working in your engine bay. Now, as gearheads and enthusiasts themselves, Cobalt decided to have a unique solution where it only opens from one side, or it's mounted to one side instead of both sides like some other kits. That's unique because it saves weight and in theory saves complexity. But I should note, and they do too, hood must be closed carefully to avoid twist or damage. To save weight, cost, and holes drilled into your car, this kit uses a single gas spring to keep the hood in place once raised. The result is, whomever closes the hood must take caution and push the hood down more gently and from the side of the hood on which the gas spring is attached. The aluminum hood can be damaged if closed too aggressively from the middle or opposite side of the gas spring. So yeah, saves weight, cost, and holes. I was originally planning on a dual strut method. In fact, I have dual struts. I just don't have the hardware because my friend who gave me the dual struts lost the hardware and they don't sell the hardware separately. So I have this kit. Let's see what happens. So let's go do the unboxing or unbagging. There wasn't really a box.
Okay, I guess we're going to pack this thing, our hood strut. We have some scissors, maybe. Sharp ones are ideal. Strut itself. And another tiny bag with the bracket. And this goes on the hood side. All your assorted attachment hardware.
Hey, are those the instructions?
Yeah, this is like a teeny tiny version of the PDF they have online.
Magnifying glass not included, right?
Right, this is pocket size, so you can always have them with you. But yeah, that's it. There's not a lot here. They do include the rivets though, which is cool.
They do give you the list of the tools required, which include drill motor, 3/16" drill bit, pop rivet gun, 7/16" roto broach or hole saw, 17mm combination wrench, 17mm socket, ratchet, 2 1/2" combination wrenches, marker, center punch, masking tape, and a rag for metal shavings from drilling, and maybe a small vacuum, but that didn't really fit in the shop. Right, so as you know, they have these tiny instructions here, but we have a much easier, bigger to read version on the website. And step 1 is open the hood and insert the factory prop rod to hold it up, maybe for the last time, which we've already done. If you don't know how to do that, maybe you should have someone else install this for you. But Cameron's installing the light, which that's not on the recommended instructions, but we recommend it. Look at that.
Gotta be able to see.
Gotta be able to see this area. Step 2, unclasp the windshield washer hose from the clip on the fender and the clip on the corner of the cowl. It says 2 clips, but we're gonna do all 3 of those right there. Step 3 is to remove the seal and retainers from their mounting holes. You have to remove the seal because the seal holds this entire plastic part on, and you have to get behind that plastic part. And it says the 3 rightmost, which are those 3 right there. Now we have access to what is behind the firewall effectively. And then it says use a rag or in our case gloves to lift up the edge just so you can verify you have access behind it. That's step 4. Step 5 is to grab the bracket and place it, which will go along the pinch weld on the firewall. You'll line up the hole with the hole below the tab you pulled out earlier. Now, if you are by yourself, you could actually tape this and hold the bracket in place while you grab the marker. Now the holes are lined up, which may look a little off from the side, so make sure you're lining it up from the front. And the tape is holding it in place. Then the marker dots the middle of the circle. So if you want to know, measuring, the edge of the bracket is about 2 1/8 from the very left side. So step 6 involves the center punch, which I bought just for this project, but it should be handy for other things as well. Cameron, what does a center punch do?
It's really just to punch a little dent in the middle to keep the drill bit from walking around as you start going. So it's just a handy tool.
Perfect. Let's center punch that little hole then. So now we set up the 3/16 bit, which will be essentially the pilot hole, the first hole we'll drill. They also say to tape the drill bit. That's what the masking tape is for. I mean, besides taping the bracket on if you need help with that. But you can tape the drill bit to prevent drilling too deep, which granted there's not much behind there, at least really close, but this will still help because you only have to really get through the surface of the metal. So as he's drilling, he's trying to make sure it's perfectly perpendicular, and the rag is below to catch shaves of metal, which is nice, but hole looks good. So that was the pilot hole with the smaller bit. Now we're gonna put on the bigger bit. Now they said 7/16. This one is technically 6/16. So we're gonna see if that's big enough, because I only have 6 8/16. Look at that. So step 8 is to gather the 17mm headed bolts, the large fender washer, the large 17mm hex lock nut, and the bracket. So the instructions do say 17mm wrench and ratchet, but we received a 16mm bolt with a 17mm nut. So we'll have a mix of 16 and 17mm, the 16 on the wrench, the 17 on the ratchet. So because our drill bit was 6/16, we had to actually move it around a little bit to drill it out just a tiny bit more for that bolt to fit. But you'll slide the bolt and washer in from the back. Then you'll grab the wrench and the ratchet and the nut and the bracket. The bracket will sit on top of the firewall, and then you'll thread the nut over top, and it's a locking nut, which is awesome. And then you'll slide the wrench behind the firewall to hold it in place, and the ratchet itself will tighten it down from the front. Next step is to put the ball joint on, which we had another type of thing. They say both were 1/2 inch, but actually the ball itself is a 14 mil, and then the nut, the locking nut for this, is a 1/2 inch. So the ball faces the fender wall and the nut will face the engine, and you can actually use a wrench and a socket if you need to. They say 2 wrenches, but you can actually do 1 of each. All right, so Cameron, there's no actual specs on the torque recommendations. What's your recommendation?
The German standard of guten tight.
So now we move to the hood itself. We have this bracket here, nice bracket, and the angled part will be towards the engine itself. And there is a pre-existing hole right here. So right by the bend you'll see in your hood. There's other holes, ignore those. This is a hole we'll use with a pop rivet for the bottom, and then we'll eventually drill another hole right here. So the rivet tool I bought does include a ton of rivets, which is awesome, but they included the ones we need for this project with the kit itself. So the rivet tool itself comes with different sizes, and this is what it came with in the kit, so we gotta make sure we find the right one. Which, yep, that's the middle one. So just loosen this one and put the middle one on. 5/32 is what the kit came with, for those of you who have a specific rivet gun.
Oh look, there's a wrench included.
Oh, we missed that. Nice. So we have one of the rivets it came with just to show what it does, but it basically pulls and collapses the ball into a shape that won't fit back out the hole. So it works. So we only need 2. Looks like they gave us 4, so 2 extras. That's plenty nice. There we go. So slide the rivet in on the bracket, and then again, make sure the angled part of the bracket is on towards the engine, I guess. Slides right in there. And this is another example where you could use tape if you don't have a friend. Pop rivet. So now that's good and tight, guten tight. And you can now use that to line up this hole. Right, so we have the bracket lined up. It is a little bit angled by default, but again, they are ball joints, so it's not a big deal. But we're gonna basically figure out exactly where we want the bracket to sit and then rotate it out of the way so we can actually drill the hole. And they don't say to center punch it, but we're gonna go ahead and do that. We're just gonna play it extra safe. And now it's step 11 for these microscopic instructions, which does say to tape it very tightly because you don't want to drill through the top of your hood. Now, if you do, that's just cool extra ventilation, kind of like, you know, Jackson's done with his vents. But yeah, we don't want that much sticking through. And it's not very hard metal, so basically it's drill longer with less pressure rather than just forcing it through. So drill-wise, they do say to use tape to help prevent you from cutting through, but the way these bits work is it kind of like pulls the drill in, which even our tape really didn't prevent it from pulling through, which was a little bit hairy, especially, you know, drilling through the hood, which we fortunately didn't drill through the hood. But
Right.
Do you have any other recommendations for drill bits after that?
Yeah, so instead of using a style like this, you can get step bits or stepper bits, sometimes they're called. They look like a cone with different sizes. And so that way, even drilling into the cowl, you won't need more than just one because you just continue pushing it in till you get to the size you want. So you don't need a pilot hole. The hole punch, or excuse me, the center punch is still a good idea. But yeah, those are just more designed for drilling into metal, so you can get those pretty inexpensive just about any hardware store.
We may do, but yeah, stepper bit, way to go.
That's the way to go.
All right, we rotated the bracket back in place, and then we'll put the pop rivet in, make sure it fits in the hole. Perfect. So step 14 is putting the ball into the bracket facing towards the engine this time, and the nut on the other side. And they are, again, the same, not quite right size. One is 1/2 inch, but the other is 14 millimeters. Next, you grab the shock from its packaging if you didn't already, and these sit 180 degrees from each other because the balls, as you can see, are 180 from each other. And then the top is where the bigger part, the actual gas part, goes, and the bottom is the smaller part. Step 16 is to put this part on first, they say, up here. Just pull it in like that, that's easy. Then you do the bottom. That's easy. And it looks nice. Moment of truth. Can I take this off and not have it plummet? Yes. So that can go to its holder, and voila. I think I'm gonna leave that there because it is good to have a second thing just in case, especially if you're doing a bunch of work, but that's pretty nifty. So that's the last bit. It's just reassembling the few things you have to undo, which I'll undo this little holder up thing. That's what these are for, right? And these can pop back into place. One clip there, then these 3 clips for the rubber seal, then these holders for the washer fluid hose, and that's it. So, the moment of truth, and I'll point back to that disclaimer we said earlier. Close the hood from the side where the gas strut is located. It's great, but let's see if it opens. The real moment of truth. You pull up to your car meet with your Miata and your stock engine bay. It works. That felt really good. That was so satisfying. Dang, looks clean. They're really dirty, but like, you know, this looks clean. So, Cameron, yet another engine bay modification that resulted in no more power.
Oh man, you're right.
But that was easy. I mean, that was one of our better, easier modifications, I think, with nothing really going wrong.
Yeah.
For this little guy that broke off, but I can dremel that down later.
Yeah.
I mean, what'd you think?
Yeah, we really didn't have too many issues. The instructions were pretty clear, just on, you know, aside from a few different sized hardware.
Couple hardware.
That was easy enough.
Yeah, a couple hardware things. And what's interesting is the printed instructions are actually ever so slightly different than the online ones, but not really. It's mostly the same. But that's worth noting. But as long as you have normal tools, this is such an easy modification. This feels incredibly solid. After I read the disclaimer in the beginning, I was a bit concerned. I was like, is this gonna be wobbly and weak? Are they putting this here because it's gonna be sketchy? But no, it feels strong.
Yeah.
Feels almost as good, I think, as all the dual strut ones I've seen. But this is easier to install than a dual strut. And honestly, feels great, looks good. I'm pretty thrilled. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it too. To your point about being concerned about it flopping, it's like, yeah, the hood is pretty rigid. So even just moving it like that, I can see it's pressing on that strut.
Yeah.
But like the disclaimer said, it's probably best to close it from that area, that side, that half.
Yeah, so hopefully people know that, and hopefully you remember to tell people that, anyone who works in or around your engine bay. But since I do most of my own work myself, not too worried. I'm excited. This will make the next oil change that much easier. So yeah, what else do you want to see in this engine bay? Like I said in my last video, there's going to be a lot of things coming up, especially in the form of maintenance. Just doing fluids and stuff, which, I mean, even that's a little bit easier now too. So thanks, Miata, for sending me this kit. I'm pretty thrilled with it. Cobalt did a good job. Weight reduction.
Right. Even though we're just adding weight, leaving the existing weight, but you know, it doesn't matter. It's pretty much, you can have a large lunch and you'll have more weight.
Exactly, yeah. It's all about what else is in the car. But thanks so much for watching. See you guys in another video very soon. And until then, I guess we'll just, yeah, close it, call it a day. Let's get lunch.
Yeah.